How you doing? Today I'm going to talk about something that's super important. So I'm going to talk about how I went from this to this to this. Even though this picture is not me at my heaviest. And that is because I destroyed any pictures at my heaviest. At my heaviest, I was 300 and something. 330 is as far as the scale went, so I could have been larger than that. Some of you may not have this problem, and you may have other issues as to why you're overweight. But this is for people that know that food is not their friend. My mom was a health nut, and so I ate trees and sticks and drank water. No, it wasn't that bad, but I mean, back in the 70s, health food tasted like trees and dirt, and I rarely got treats. I mean, she made stuff, like granola and stuff, and which things that I love now. But at the time, I didn't like it because, everybody else's moms were making the flat chocolate chip cookies, and I would come to the bake sale with the giant cookies with the twigs sticking out of them, So I'm not going to blame my mother for any of this because, we all learn. And my mom was doing her own thing, and she was raising her kids as best as she could, as best as she knew how. And she wanted us to be healthy. I don't feel that it's necessarily because my mom restricted my food, but I do feel that there is something chemically in people with addiction. I have a food addiction. Other people have drug addictions and alcohol addictions and sex addictions, But mine was food. Ever since I was a young child, I can remember just always wanting sweets, always wanting food. And when I was upset, I just wanted food, and I thought about food constantly. Food has been food. That's going to be every time you hear the word food, take a shot. So as a kid, you have things that happen, traumatic things, and the first thing that you want to do is eat and eat. When I was 11 or 12, I lost my grandmother, someone that I really loved, and she was a really cool lady, and whenever I got to go over to her house, she fixed me, hot chocolate and toast, where you cut the toast in the little triangles and you dip it in the hot chocolate. Oh my God, so good, so good. With whipped cream in it. Real whipped cream. It wasn't all about that with my grandma, but so when I lost her, I lost like this fun part that I got to escape from the sticks and the twigs that my mom was giving me. I started hiding food when I was about 10. And chocolate chips were my go-to treat. I would ride my bike up to the store, and I would fill them into a cup and put them way in my closet, and I would hide them, and I would throw away the package, and whenever I craved chocolate, I went and would take a few chocolate chips. And it helped with the craving I was having, sweet craving, you know. Once I got into high school and I could earn my own money by babysitting and stuff like that, or just go to school, then I went crazy, and I could get, you know, that's when you could get candy at school and stuff. And, you know, I would spend my days talking on the phone and just watching TV. And the good part about being younger was I was always outside, and I was always playing, and I was always active. And that's one reason is because my mom always pushed us out the door and said, get your ass outside and play, which I'm thankful for. And another thing is, she was always into fitness herself. She would always watch Jack LaLanne and those other two. It was on PBS, A Man and a Wife, and his wife, who always wore those funky gold leotards, Richard Simmons. So I was always watching her do that, but it wasn't clicking for me, you know. But I was riding bikes and playing baseball and all that fun stuff. So when I was younger, I was chunky, but I wasn't really, you know, packing on the pounds yet because I was doing stuff. But then as high school came along, I just started really, you know, being super lazy, and because I got into the way I looked, and I didn't want to sweat and mess up my hair and, you know, all that stuff. So I just started, and then I started cooking, you know, taking over for the family, cooking and baking. And I got out of school, I was about 185 pounds, which back then I was one of the chunkier kids in school, because being large was not average like it is now. And I think it's because we did more things off of our butts, you know, and it's really, we can't necessarily blame people for this happening, but we can blame the circumstances, you know, the fast food, more fast food, and the crap that they put in our food, and the way society is, where you don't do anything. You sit and you talk to everybody online, you know. But it's when you learn that these things are happening around us, that's when you learn to take responsibility for yourselves, and you say, I'm not going to let them do this to me. I'm not going to let them do this to my precious package that has been given to me. So we're talking about the 80s. We're in the 80s right now, and, you know, the fashion was to be very, very stick thin, to have an incredibly flat stomach, which I've never had. I wasn't born with one. I've always had that little pouch, you know, and I was always ashamed of it. And I have these knees that are not, okay, I have ugly knees, and I'm the first one to say I have ugly knees, because things can be ugly and things can be pretty to some people. To me, my knees are not pretty. To my husband, my knees are adorable, apparently. Which I'm lucky that I found somebody that likes the parts that I can't stand about myself. But now I'm going to get to my knees later, because that's a thing I want to talk about, because, yeah. Okay, so, you know, I'm going through all this crap. You think that everybody around you is not going through anything, because they're getting jobs and they're doing, you know, getting married and blah, 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 blah. But I was at home and going through the agoraphobia and I literally wore muumuus and got bigger and bigger. I was living with my parents until my boyfriend and I got married, and it was Charlotte's dad, my oldest daughter. And we got married, I was 23. And by then I was maybe 220. No, maybe I had lost some weight, so I was about 203. Now, I do have to say that between the ages of 11, up to this point, which was 1990, where I was 23, I tried diets. The grapefruit diet, the cabbage diet, the diet that you just drink lemon juice, ridiculous things. But I wasn't fixing the problem. I was just being told that you're fat and you gotta do this stuff to not be fat so people will like you, right? Being older and feeling the effects of getting older, seeing the effects on my body, I am so happy that I made the change. It's more than 10 years now. Because if I was as large as I was in my 20s, I would not be where I am today, even mentally. This is something that I will always remember, how excited I was that we got to bring home a giant piece of the wedding cake. And me having the agoraphobia, I didn't go anywhere, and I ate a cake about this big and that wide, slice by slice. Every day I would have a slice of carrot cake with cream cheese frosting. And you don't realize you just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I had gotten up to I was about 240 within a year. So I had gained, about 40 or 50 pounds, something like that. And then I was like thinking to myself, nope, I gotta do something about this. So I just started exercising, and I took it very lightly, working out, and I lost like 25 pounds. Then I got pregnant. And of course, it was a surprise. So I can't remember all my weights at, I was about 220, and I got pregnant with Charlotte. And I just was like, well, I'm pregnant, so I can do what I want. And I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate, and I ate all through the pregnancy. And I think I was about 265 when I had her. Being pregnant was one of the best times as a food addict, because I had a reason now that I could eat for two. I had her when I was 26, and by the time, I still wasn't the mom and person I wanted to be, and I just kept gaining, and I kept gaining, and I kept gaining, and I kept eating, and I was the best mom I could be, despite going through all these mental things, and eating and eating and eating, and cake, baked goods. I would make cookies all the time, and chocolate. Chocolate was always my good go-to thing. Chocolate chips were always my go-to thing. I had anxiety and agoraphobia after high school, and I didn't know what it was because we didn't talk about it. Nobody knew. You know, everybody suffered in silence. My dad had anxiety, and he would have to drive to and from on the freeway every day, and he would have anxiety attacks at work, and he wouldn't tell anybody. My grandma had it, and nobody knew because it was embarrassing, and it was something more to be ashamed of back then. And because nobody talked about it, if you had these feelings, you felt a little more alone and like you're a failure. So on top of being larger and having the anxiety, the depression, and agoraphobia, you know, it just felt like my world would never change. I would never be the person that I saw in the back of my head. About 1995, 96, we got the internet, and I found other women, BBWs, and people that were into fat acceptance, and I became a part of that. Now, this is the thing. I didn't necessarily feel that things should be changed because of me being overweight. Now, this is me. This is what was going on with me internally. I just wanted to feel comfortable being that large and not be judged by other people. So I would go to these events with other large women, and there would be men there, and the men would actually say to me, "You're not very big." And by this time I was almost 300 pounds. These men would flirt with me and tell me how beautiful I was and blah, 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 blah. It made me feel super sexy, and I kind of just rolled with it. So I was still going through my anxiety and my agoraphobia, but this was just a bandage put over it for my ego. And it wasn't that big back then, and it wasn't accepted still. But I felt a sense of community within it, and there was a high being around people that understood what it was like to be larger and stuff like that. But there was still something in me saying, I don't want to be like this. And I had gotten over 300 pounds, and I wasn't comfortable. Every freaking joint in my body hurt. I remember this one day walking in the grocery store, and I was sweating and I was out of breath. I'm barely 5'4", okay? My wrists, do you see how tiny my wrists are? Tiny, tiny bones. I have tiny ankles. I have fat knees, but I have tiny ankles. And the weight that I was putting on them was way too much. I mean, it was like carrying around a second person. I remember my dad had a blood pressure machine. I remember taking my blood pressure at 29, and it was like a 198 over 90 something, and what scared the crap out of me. I was like, holy crap, you know, like a lot of my family's larger, but some of them are thinner. And see, this is the thing. I believe that, sure, it is genetic. It is genetic that I have to work harder to keep the fat off due to metabolism or whatever. But also, at the time, I would tell people, well, I don't really eat that much. I don't eat that much. I thought I did not eat that much, and I could not understand why I was this large. Why was I over 330 pounds? And I look back now and I can see myself eating an entire bag of Dove chocolates, stuff like that. But it was when no one was watching. And so when no one was watching, it didn't count. If my husband didn't know, it didn't count. If my daughter didn't know, it didn't count. I think this is what I was telling myself. So I don't know why I was getting so large. But that's part of the addiction. Making excuses for yourself. Again, this doesn't pertain to everybody, but it could be striking a nerve with somebody. And I hope that it's going to help to see that, life isn't fair. And some of us have to work harder to get healthy. Some of us have to work harder to pay bills. Some of us have to work harder in life to be happy. But it's doable. Wanted to stop the excuses that I was giving myself. I've always been a happy, laughing, joking person on the outside, but then I would just be mortified at myself. Sitting, trying to get up off the couch, even at that size, was so hard. I couldn't get up off the ground. I couldn't really walk that far. I was always hot and I was always sweaty, and I always thought, well, it's in the family, so I'm always going to be large. That's it. Just because people are telling you one thing is right doesn't mean it's right, or doesn't mean it has to be right for you. Right now, there is a huge movement on the body acceptance movement, which is amazing, because when I was a young girl, if I had, realistic bodies to look at, then I wouldn't have had the issues that I had growing up, or even now, It really difficult when all you have to look at are these skinny, Brooke Shields was big when I was young, and if I had somebody that had like a more realistic body, like I think my body's pretty realistic looking as a woman, I don't have ridiculous anime boobs, and I have a stomach, and I have thicker thighs and a butt and ugly knees and these tiny little ankles. My husband says I look like Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. So beauty standards definitely should have a huge spectrum. But you also can't expect everybody to be attracted to you or think that you're beautiful. I mean, that's life. Life isn't fair. Some people are going to not like the way you look, and some people are going to love it. But it doesn't mean that you're not a good person. It just means that there's somebody else that's going to, it's like, that's not even the issue. Don't even worry about that. So I'm saying, for the people that feel like you are enjoying life because you're being more accepted, which I love, but you still are not feeling well, it's uncomfortable to walk upstairs, or your clothes feel uncomfortable. There's there is a way to lose it. There is a way to get smaller if that's what you want. Because let me tell you, being over 330 pounds and the weight I am now, this morning I was 148 pounds, it's like night and day. Being 330 pounds and in my 30s, as opposed to, having 100 and whatever off of me at 50, that is, listen, I rarely sweat. I run up flights of stairs. I mean, it still hurts because I'm 50, but I could do it. And if you can do it at a larger weight, I'm super happy for you, but this isn't for you. This is for the person that I'm speaking to right now that needs some help. There are people out there that are not going to be satisfied with being large. And it really isn't about the outside. Think about your body like a car. When you pack on, like, how would you pack your car? You would put the luggage in the back, and when whatever doesn't fit, you're gonna have to leave it home. Because if you try driving on the highway, it's gonna all packed down with your suitcases all the way up and tied to the, like Lucy, like Ricky, like when he tried to on their trip to California. You're gonna be going like 5 miles an hour on the highway, even if you have a brand new car. So let me get to the main event. So when I really started to get serious was when I was 30, I think I was about 31 or something like that. And I was having palpitations so bad, heart palpitations, that I called 911, and I thought I was dying. I thought I was having a heart attack because it wasn't, a mystery that I could have had one, especially since I had taken my blood pressure and it was so high. Also at the time I was having horrible gallbladder problems. I mean, at night I would go to sleep and I would just be just stabbing right here, But I wouldn't go to the doctor because I was afraid and embarrassed to go to the doctor. So after the day when I had a house full of firemen telling me you're just having anxiety, and me being completely embarrassed and my gallbladder on fire and stabbing me at night, I was like, I give up. It's either I'm going to die from a heart attack or my gallbladder is going to explode or whatever. I'm going to kill myself, or I'm going to want to keep living for my daughter especially, and be able to actually walk to her school and pick her up, which was 3 houses away, but I couldn't do it because I couldn't walk that far because it hurt. That's a lot of weight to be carrying around. I knew that fat, and I didn't have the internet, but I knew that fat was, I got the correlation that when I drank, like full fat milk and had butter, that my gallbladder was hurting even worse. So I drastically cut out all fat. So that was back though when there was a lot of fat-free stuff. So I was uneducated on really how I should eat, so I just ate fat-free stuff, but I ate very carefully. And the first exercise that I did at that weight was, we had a push mower And I got out and I was like, well, I should be walking, but I'm too embarrassed to walk outside. So I got behind the push mower and I pushed and I mowed the grass for 5 minutes. And I was sweating and I was out of breath. But I felt like, wow, I did something. I also stopped drinking. That's when I stopped drinking coffee, cold turkey, and started drinking nothing but water. So I was so proud of myself that I did that, So I mowed the damn grass every day, and every day I would do it for longer and longer and longer. So we had no grass, but I started to lose weight because I was getting some sort of exercise. And I was just, going along, pushing my large frame. And what I'd like to also say about larger frame, back then, at 330 pounds, I was like a size 32, but squeezing into a size 32, there was no sizes that large for me. So I had to, and this is also when I was getting back into the goth, because I had my little stint where I thought I was a mom, so I tried to be the mom. So that's where I wore flower dresses and stuff. But then when I was getting back, I got back into it, tried to pull me out, but they didn't succeed. So I was literally buying 2 dresses at Ross, because this is also, we didn't have a lot of money. This is with my ex-husband. We didn't have a lot of money. So yeah, I was sewing 2 dresses together to make one big dress for myself. So that was humiliating, having to buy 2 of the largest dresses they had to make one big enough for me. The internet, of course, they had larger sizes of just t-shirts and pants and stuff, but I wasn't into that. So I was able to get a used treadmill, and I started on the treadmill because I had killed the grass. But I was winning in the exercise department. So I got a treadmill and I did the same thing. I started at 5 minutes was my first thing. And I was just pouring sweat. Then I moved to 10, 15. But I'd go 5 minutes for about a week. And then I would 7 minutes. And then 9 minutes. You have to be kind to yourself when you're doing this too. When you're starting, you have to be kind. And you have got to not want to do it quickly. Because when you do it quickly, you're not going to train your brain. You're not going to train your brain to make these adjustments. Like when you winding up a clock, and then it gets to that, something you wind up, and then if you do it a little bit too hard, it goes, and it twists back. It's kind of what happens to your brain when you're training it to do new things, especially getting over an addiction. When I talk about the food addiction and my OCD, and in my other video I talked about how I use my OCD for good in this, instance. So I would make sure, I did my rituals. My ritual was get up, get dressed, and get on a treadmill. And rituals are important to keep this as a lifestyle. At the time, Richard Simmons was huge, and his commercials were all over the TV. So I got a credit card and I ordered his Sweat Into the Oldies tapes and his little deal-a-meal thing. And I started with that. And that helped me really realize what I was putting in my body and how much Not necessarily how much in quantity, you know, but how much in calories I was putting in my body. And once I really started to see that the calories were just ridiculously out of control, and I got in, you know, less calories, I started losing weight. It really is a science. You got to invest in yourself. And you have to, this is a thing, like this vessel that we're given is so important. And this is what's going to get you through to the end. When you're younger, you usually don't realize your immortality. Or your mortality, whatever. I don't know. You don't realize that this is going to end. It does not really click. So you're just enjoying the moment. I'm enjoying showing how fabulous I look when it should be how fabulous I'm feeling. I mean, that's the way it should be, but it's not, you know. So I'm just saying, try not to just focus on the outside, because no matter what you do, unless you have $60,000 or more worth of plastic surgery, you're not going to get the perfect body that you feel in your head. I don't have the body that I want in my head. Trust me. That's one reason why I don't pose in a bikini before and after pictures, because I'm not comfortable showing it. I don't want to show it. I just don't want to. My husband is the only one that needs to see it. Richard Simmons is a huge inspiration for me, because just hearing him say, like on screen, that I love you. He would say, I love you. Take care of yourself. Love yourself enough to take care of this vessel. And even to this day, if I watch his videos and he says, I love you, I start crying, and I feel that inspiration and him saying, you can do it, you can do it. Because he did it. And it lasted his whole life. And that's why I want to make these videos, because I done it. I was very, very, very large. And now I'm not very, very, very small, but I'm at a manageable weight. And it feels amazing. Amazing. And I'm 50 years old. I'm on no medication. And I feel like, I mean, I have, you know, issues. I have a torn rotator cuff, and my shoulder hurts like hell, and I'm super sore some mornings, and there's some exercises I can't do. I was doing aerobics just a couple months ago. I would do aerobics and the treadmill every day, and I was super happy that I got all my Richard Simmons back that I used to do, but it was too much for my body at 50. Personally, I was waking up every morning and I could barely move, and I was crying at night because it hurt so bad. So I had to stop the Richard Simmons, and so I'm walking every single day. My husband and me and Zoe and my neighbor, we go for a walk. We're gone for 45 minutes to an hour, and even on the days that I can't walk outside of the house, I get on a treadmill. It's super important, because if I didn't stay active, I feel like I would have succumbed to my back issues and whatever, and menopause, because menopause is scary. That's another video. Whew. Okay, so as I'm doing Richard Simmons, so I would lose weight, You know, I got 31, 32. I lost significant amount of weight. I had gone from over 330 to, I'd say, I'd lost about 90 pounds. No, I would say maybe I lost about 80 pounds. And then I started to just get kind of comfortable where it was at. Because being very large like that, you know, and then losing that much weight. And I'm talking a couple years it took. This is not a quick fix. And I was feeling pretty comfortable. And so I kind of let my exercise, you know, I was doing it every other day, and then I would kind of let myself succumb to those urges, chocolate chip cookie urges. I went up about 10 pounds. And then I could start to feel the effects because my back would go out. I have a degenerative disc disorder or something in my spine. So my back is super, super sensitive. And I'm talking about like down for the count. Like I can't even lay down without being like crying in pain. So, but I've never done any kind of pain pills because I don't know. I just didn't want to put that in my body. So I was like, I can't, all right, this is my body telling me, reminding me that I'm not done yet. So then I think about 260 is when I joined Weight Watchers. I joined Weight Watchers, and that was another way of, they had the point system, so, you know, you had to learn how many points were in food, and it just seems overwhelming at first, but once you get it, I mean, you can look at something and say it's that many points. I would get on the treadmill for at least an hour, and then I was also doing weights, lifting weights, and that totally kickstarted my metabolism back up. You know, like go back on your good eating habits, then your metabolism is like puts a wrench in it. So what I always found helpful was to double my exercise. So I was doing about an hour, 90 minutes of working out a day. And really, I mean, come on, you think about, people are like, well, isn't that obsessive? Okay, what, you sit and binge watch Netflix shows and that's not obsessive? Get on a treadmill while you're doing it. I play Tomb Raider. That's one of the things I do. I play video games on the treadmill. But it took a while. You know, I had to get more limber and smaller to be able to coordinate that. Yeah, so I started losing more weight. And then I would stop and get complacent, and then it would go back up 10, and then I would start my butt again and go back down. But I was always going like down, up, down, up, down, up. But it was never completely turned around because once I started gaining weight back, then I started really feeling the effects physically. And it would remind myself, like, oh, crap. Weight Watchers and walking got me down to 180. And I really felt like that's where I was going to be happy the rest of my life. I'd met Matthew at that weight, and he enjoyed me and thought I was beautiful, and I felt beautiful, and that's where my career was going, and I thought this was it in my 40s. You're in a relationship and then you get complacent again, and I got up to, I think, about 198, and then I kicked my butt again and got down to about 170. This was all, I would always go back to Weight Watchers. I was a Weight Watchers member for about 12 years. And I loved that they always kept, you know, they had a graph thing. So I could see it was like this. Woo, 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 woo. I mean, that is reality. It's not always, it's not got to be woo in 2 months, you know? If you're trying to all of a sudden lose 100 pounds for your wedding, you're going to be 200 pounds heavier within 6 months of your wedding. So, and Matthew was in support of it because he witnessed my back going out and how, you know, in the middle of the night I couldn't even get out of the bed to go to the bathroom because of the pain was horrendous. And it took about 3 or 4 months to go back into place. And then I, you know, kept going with my exercise. But I mean, I thought at that weight, 170, I was maybe about a size 14, that it would be good. But obviously my body was telling me, no, look it, lady. You got too much of a load going on here. So 5 years ago, I started getting really bad stomach pains, like, you know, in my stomach, like somebody was a fork in my stomach, like that. And I initially went to the doctor and they finally told me I had gastritis. Now this was, I don't know how that happened because I was eating healthy, but then it got worse and it got worse and it got worse. And I was so ill for 3 years. It was hell, and I was this close to death. I couldn't keep food down. I couldn't eat anything. I was eating Ensures and mashed potatoes and avocados at one point. That was and I had gotten down to, my lowest was 135. So I lost, 40 pounds. And 3 years, $30,000 and 5 doctors telling me after the gastritis, because I would get a pain around my pancreas area that would go completely around my body, and it would last, it was like as intense as labor pain, and it would last for like 8 hours. So I'd be up all night long just wanting to die, because the times I went to the ER, they would just tell me, we don't know what's wrong, here's some morphine. And I was like, I am not going to get addicted to morphine now. Having that happen opened my eyes like you wouldn't believe, because when 5 doctors told me they don't know what the hell's going on besides gastritis. It wasn't just gastritis. None of the medicines they gave me worked. None. So I quit them all. And I started researching even more and eating slowly, eating more foods. You know, even though it hurt just to drink water. I super researched food thanks to the internet. And I learned that even the foods that I was eating to lose weight that had lower calories still had so much crap. You know, fake sugars and all these just fake things that aren't food putting in our bodies. And I decided, well, I'm going to eat clean. So I became a vegetarian, really. And I only eat things that, you know, are totally gluten-free. I try to eat vegan, vegetarian, dairy-free. Dairy's gone. And peppermint spirits. This stuff, I believe, saved my life. I researched it. Peppermint, you know, calms your muscles inside and calms everything inside. And so I started putting it in my water. And I still, to this day, 5 years, or no, that was about, might have been 6 years, because I've been doing this for about 3 years. I put it in my bottle of water, and I drink 2 or 3, 4 of these a day, plus my smoothie. And I put it in here, and it looks kind of like yellowish. But I believe that that helped me. Not saying it's going to help you, but this is my story. So that helped me, I think. That and cutting out sugars, and because I was, even though I was losing weight, I was addicted to Jelly Bellies, big time, and chocolate chips. Since I love chocolate chips so much, and they're my go-to comfort food. Enjoy life chocolate chips. They're dark chocolate. It's just chocolate and cane sugar. Gluten-free, free from peanuts, wheat, tree nuts, dairy, casein, soy, egg, sesame, sulfites, which another thing, yeah, for me. Lupin, mustard, fish, shellfish, crustaceans. They're called Enjoy Life. And the brand has different things too, like these are yummy. People make fun of people that eat gluten-free and dairy-free, but I don't understand why, because when you really start listening to your body and you're having major issues, then you can realize that sometimes you need to eliminate some of these things out of your diet. Eliminating dairy for me was huge. It's like eliminating dairy and eating tons of vegetables and drinking nothing but water was super, made my skin clear up. I think for 50 I have pretty good skin. I mean, look, I got wrinkles. I do have wrinkles. Pretty smooth though for my age. Now what I want to say about when I was sick and I lost those 40 pounds, that was proof right there to me that the calorie intake what was driving my body to be fat. So my lowest I got was 135 when I was ill. And I really, really liked the way it felt to be 135. At 135 though, I looked very sullen, and people would ask me all the time, you know, if I was dying. I mean, I was, but so it's like you get it on one end and you get it on the other end, you know. You're either too fat or you're too skinny, which both are not ideal. What you want to try to do is get your body down to its comfortable, healthy weight. So right now I'm at 145. I go from 145 to this morning it was 148. I stay between 145 and 149. If I ever got over 150, I would go back to working out twice a day, just because it is such a slippery slope, especially with menopause, because menopause is the reason why I gained those 10 pounds back, I believe. Hormones really do a number on you, a woman and her weight, because I'm in full menopause now. And it's a blessing and a curse. But it really does it has slowed my metabolism down, and I've really noticed it within the last year, which is where I'm in menopause now. So the last year my body has kind of, you know. So I went from working out 2 hours a day to 1 hour a day, and I gained back, I'd say I gained back like 7 or 8 pounds, because realistically I was only 135 for a short time, and then I stayed around 140. But my God, it is such a science, it's insane. One thing I want to say is I never leave the house without my Fitbit. This keeps me motivated, like for sure. I was doing like 22,000 steps a day this time last year when I was working out for 2 hours a day because of things that have changed, and I'm kind of like down in one of those chill out modes of my weight journey, health journey, that I'm doing an hour a day. So I try to do at least 10,000 steps a day. These keep you motivated, they really do, because you can, if you're really competitive, you can go against other people. And for a while I made sure I won all the time. Because walking, you don't need a gym membership. All you need are your feet and some tennis shoes. And if you have issues with going out, go out in the nighttime. I don't like to walk in the day. I just personally don't like, because no matter where I go, I get attention, even if I have my hair in a braid, because of the color. So when I'm working out, I just want to work out. So we take the dogs for a walk after sunset, and it's a nice way of us as a family to talk about stuff every night too. So it's a win-win. And our doggies go out every night too. They like that. I discovered when I was healing myself with acidophilus, getting your gut, all the flora or whatever it's called in your gut, getting it all synced in good is so important. And for me, acidophilus, the chewable acidophilus is 3 times a day before you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, helps me. And so I'll get up, pop an acidophilus, and because of the issue I had with being ill, my stomach shrank very much, and I cannot eat a lot of food. Almost like I had surgery, which I did not have surgery, and people always assume that you have surgery if you've lost that much weight. I'm here to say that you can do it without surgery. School days, I drive her to school. I drink water. I have banana while I'm cleaning. And then a couple hours later, I'll have some nuts, handful of nuts, avocado. A couple hours later, I have my acidophilus for lunch. Dinner is where I have my bigger meal. That's just the way my body works. They say to have your bigger meal at breakfast, but this is the thing, you have to be in tune with your own body, because not everything works for everybody. You have to know what foods, what chemicals, what preservatives, all those things, what they do to your body, but you have to pay attention. If you're eating something and something's not right, it's a process of elimination. A dinner for me sometimes would be like maybe a piece of fish and some avocado, some broccoli, or some shrimp and some broccoli. I don't eat pasta, so I like the fake noodles that are made from that Chinese mushroom or something. They're called miracle noodles. It takes a while to get used to not having certain things, but I look at it this way. So life isn't fair, right? My daughter has diabetes, type 1 diabetes, that she was diagnosed when she was 13, and there's things that she cannot eat, or she will develop complications and lose pieces of her body and die. So if she has to eat a certain way, I need to eat a certain way, because if I don't eat a certain way, I put on weight and my back goes out, or my knees go out, or my body just will hurt worse than it does now, because it does hurt some days pretty bad because of my age. In general, I think I'm pretty well off for my age. Now, last week we went to a buffet, and that's something that I don't normally do. We don't go out to dinner. We go out to dinner once every 3 months, if that, you know. Sometimes we get to be treated to really nice restaurants, but literally twice a year, because we are so in tune with what we eat. We are very careful about what we put in our bodies. So when we do go out, trust me, at least 2 days after, we're feeling the effects, both of us, because Matthew has a different protocol he sticks to. He's not a vegetarian. I am. So, like, if I go to Kabuki or something, and I usually have a couple things, but I feel just like if I have some fried shrimp or something, I feel so different the next day, groggy and tired and just achy. Same with going to, like, we went to a champagne buffet for breakfast, a brunch. It was pretty amazing. Because I've trained my brain what to eat. I went right for I had some shrimp, and I had some artichoke heart salad, and, you know, and my friend was like, what the hell are you doing eating healthy? But because still, when I look at those foods that are filled with sauces and butters and sugars, I don't want to put it in my body, because I know how I'm going to feel the next day. It's almost like drinking. It's like having a food hangover. I had my little thing, but then I went right to the dessert table, and I got some yummy stuff. And there were a few things that were too sweet, and I didn't eat them, but I did really enjoy the special treat that I got for myself. But the whole next day, I just was dizzy, and the rest of the day because I don't drink normally either, so the champagne was like, oh. And I'm glad I don't eat like that anymore every day. I just can't imagine feeling that way ever again, every single day. And also, one thing I noticed about the buffet was how, like, I just got immersed in the fact that there was just all this food and all this rich food, and I was excited, and I was freaking over the moon about it. And I'm gonna get this, and I'm gonna get that, and I'm gonna get this, and I ate way too much than I should, and it hurt. My stomach hurt so bad. But in the moment, I was enjoying how much fun we were having as a group of friends, and just the whole room was like so excited that we're eating all this food. But I know we all left feeling like, I can't believe I ate all that. And the feeling was kind of like that for the whole room at the end of the night, or the end of the morning. When I get around that kind of atmosphere, I can almost give in. Like, I start feeling myself giving in, thinking, well, it's getting more acceptable to be larger, and this is really fun, being able to eat whatever I want in the moment. But then when I do have that, when I feel the effects, is when I'm glad I stopped and I'm turning it around again. Because this is what it's about. It's about the way your body's feeling. It's not about the way it looks or how other people perceive you. I've always said that I wanted to be a cheerleader for people who want to conquer this addiction, and which you will never completely conquer, just like all your other things, anxiety, agoraphobia, mental health issues, you will never conquer them. You will learn how to hold them back. You'll learn how to retrain your brain. I used to talk to my food, and I would look at it and I say, what do you want? I want you, but I'm not going to let you go in my mouth. And I would have a verbal discussion with cake because I wanted to let it know who's boss. The same with going in a grocery store. The first thing you do is they put you through the bakery. And like me and Zoe, or me and Charlotte or whatever, you go right through the bakery and you look at all the beautiful cakes and you smell the wonderful smells and you take it all in, and then you just run for the fruit and vegetables. Not saying every once in a while you can give yourself a treat, because you absolutely can. You can, and you can also find alternatives to have even every day. Just recently, a couple weekends ago, it was my niece's graduation, and I let myself have some cake, as you do when you're celebrating something like that. But she gave me a piece to take home, and I was thinking to myself, I'm all right. I had a piece of cake today, so I might as well end the day with a piece of cake. And it was dessert time, it was nighttime, and I like to eat my dessert in bed, relaxed, watching TV. That's how I like to enjoy it. So I took it out of the fridge, and it was a big piece of cake. It was like this big, and it was like some amazing chocolate thing. And I looked at it, and there was sweat coming down my face because I wanted to eat it so bad. Because I remember how good it tasted earlier in the day. I opened up the trash, and I was thinking, this one piece is not going to hurt me. But then I remember that that's one of the things I always told myself. This one piece is not going to hurt me. And it always ended up hurting. So I took one bite of the middle of the frosting, and I savored it. And with my breath, holding my breath, I let it go down into the trash can. Boom. And one thing that I wanted to do was reach down and grab that cake out of the trash can, but I shut the lid and I compacted it, so I couldn't do that. That's how strong the power of food is, the power of addiction is. And it hurts, and it's hard to get past, but it's worth it. Anybody that can benefit from what I've said, I really wish you luck in your journey, and remember that it's never too late to start. I started when I was 30. I started my life when I was 35. Literally, look at me. I'm 50 and I'm on 0 medications. Knock on wood. I don't know what's going to happen. Something could happen tomorrow that I need to be on medication. But as for now, I'm not. And I don't have any major medical issues. My back was a major medical issue, and I lost just enough weight where sometimes it will go out, but I can twist and stretch. Now I can kind of twist it back into place, and I get on the treadmill and it loosens it up, and I'm able to recover faster because of it, usually within 1 or 2 days if it does go out. Absolutely love the body that you were given, respect the body that you were given, respect other people and their bodies, because you never know if a person is struggling and wants to lose, or is in the middle or at the beginning of their journey. So that's one thing that I really have to admit, that for a while, for a long time up until recently, I was kind of judgmental about people that are larger, thinking, well, why don't you just do it? But it's just not that easy for some people. It wasn't, I say that, but it's not easy. It's not easy for me to just do it, because some days I don't want to work out, but I do force myself to do it, and I'm so glad after I've done it. I feel better that I've made the choice to not be so judgmental about a person's physical, like, why are they too skinny or why are they too fat, because they're not doing it right, type of a thing. But it's not fair, because we all have a chance to learn to get it right. The way I do it may not be perfect for you or somebody else, but it's perfect for me. You have to find your perfect way of taking care of yourself. The key is taking care of yourself, and I honestly don't believe that being obese is taking care of yourself, because I've been there. I guess if you have no problem with it, then go, and live your life the best you can. But those of you I know there are some of you out there that think that you're okay with it, but in the back of your head, if you could take that pill, you would take it. That's where I was at. I thought I was okay with being larger, being surrounded by other people telling me it was okay, but really I wasn't okay with it, and I made the change, and I'm happier for it. And also, people that have surgery, it really is just as hard for them to maintain, so don't be judgmental about those people. And it's not the easy road out, but know that I didn't want to have surgery because I don't like medical stuff. I don't like surgeries, I don't like medicine, nothing. So, and I'm the type of person, like, give it to me, I'll fix it, just give it to me. I've always wanted to be cheerleaders for people. That the internet can sometimes be a really negative place, because it seems like sometimes a place where people just go to complain, fuck my life, and oh my God, this is what I have, I can't believe I have this and I have that. But I find people that have challenges and that live every day the best they can. I seek out people like that online to use as examples. Like, there's a man that I follow here on YouTube, his name is Pee Wee Toms, who is going through hell because he's only in his 30s, and he was diagnosed with cancer that it's so rare. And he's on, could be his last days, and he just spreads so much positivity. And he takes really good care of himself, even up until now. Like, he's still trying to be as healthy as he can. And I admire that so much. The same with my husband, what he's going through, and he tries as hard as he can to take care of himself too. I always feel like, if you're, like, for me, I'm 5'4", and I'm 148 today, and I'm chunky in some areas, but it's where my body wants to be, I think, because I eat pretty healthy, and I super clean, really, and I work out every single day. And maybe somebody that's 6 foot tall could be 200 pounds and where they need to be healthy. You just have to find your natural state. But I believe that a natural state can't be more than what your tiny, tiny bones can carry. Because even in your 30s, and you think that you're doing okay at a larger size, you're doing damage, or I can say you could be doing damage, because some people get too upset when you tell them what's going on. You could be doing damage that you can't see, to your bones and stuff, splinters and all kinds of stuff that will cause you more problems in your 50s, 60s. So I do snack on my chocolate chips. I really didn't want to do this to bash larger people or people with addictions, because I was there and I have an addiction. I'm here as an older person, really telling you what it's like on the other side and how it does feel. I mean, I have my creaks and things don't work as well as they used to, even 10 years ago. But I do believe that they work better than a lot of people my age, because I do the best I can to keep my motor, everything inside clean and moving. Moving is huge. I don't sit, this is the longest I sit, like literally. I'm like a bumblebee. I run circles around me 20 years ago. Run circles, like literally. I am on my feet all day. I wear my tennis shoes, and also getting up and getting dressed in the morning is a huge motivator to get your day going. If you're gonna sit around in your pajamas all day, that just makes you feel like, ugh. I hope hearing my story will help somebody that feels like they're trapped in some place that they don't want to be in. I've been trying not to cry this whole video, because you can see from the pictures where I was at. And even though I'm smiling and I'm pretty, I get that all the time, but you were beautiful then and you're beautiful now. But that is not the issue here. The issue has nothing to do with beauty. It has to do with your longevity. And even though some people want to say that being larger, you don't necessarily have this and that and this and that, in general, it is harder on your body than when you're smaller. Just like I was saying, just like a car. What happens when you put sawdust in the gas tank of your car? It stops working. What happens if you put milk in your car? It doesn't work. You need gas. So you need to put the proper gas in your vehicle. This vehicle has got to get me to Disneyland's 100th anniversary. And then people say stuff like, well, like your husband was finally getting his act together and he ended up having MS. Are you kidding me? Like, you can't use that. Well, that guy was a jogger, and he had a heart attack, jogging. You can't use things like that as an excuse to stay. You just can't, unless you want to. If you want to stay the way you are, go for it. But it's your responsibility to not tell other people that it's okay to be that way, because you choose to be that way. Right now, there are young girls that are appreciating the whole F your beauty standards thing. I appreciate it, because I appreciate that now my daughters can look at their natural body shape and be okay with it. But that's what it's about. And but you can't take it to the extreme and say, F your health standards. You know, this is all my opinion because of what I've been through. So if you're going to leave me nasty comments, don't even bother, because I'll either delete them or I won't read them, because this isn't for you. This is for that person. Like I said in my last video, she needs my help. She right there needs to hear that it's not going to be like this forever if she doesn't want it to be. But you are happy the way you are. So go along your merry way. Go find another channel. Go watch some I Love Lucy or something. This is me in Mammoth when I was 50. Kick, bending, stretching, and kicking. You can do it. You can totally do it. So that's the video about that.
Okay.
You know, your meal plans are something that you have to learn what is good for your body. I highly suggest Weight Watchers. I really do. Because it keeps you honest. And you got to be honest with the points. You really do. You have to really be honest with yourself, or it's not going to work. And if you slip up, you go right back. And don't give yourself a time limit, because when you do that, then you're going to fail a lot. Be patient with yourself and go, roll with the way it's going. But just trying to never give up, because when you give up, you'll most likely just be very sore and uncomfortable. And I don't want you to be that way. I have to admit that I've been a little apprehensive about making this video because of the way things have turned so much with the body positivity movement, because what started out to be very positive has kind of veered off in a way that it's turning into all about the way you look and not how you feel physically, So, and I know there's people that totally disagree with me telling people losing weight is great. I don't understand that, but people like you that are watching this video that need to hear this. So this is why I'm making this, and this is why I'm saying this. And you don't have to agree with me 100%, because that's life. I mean, we can have friends and we can have people that we don't agree with 100, but still take, something away from what they had to say. Again, I'm saying this like as a motherly figure to younger girls, that it's attainable and it feels wonderful physically. But sometimes, my brain still feels like my butt is too big to fit in a Disneyland ride, and I get in there and I'm like, whoa, I've got like enough room for two of me. Once you get rid of preservatives and sugar, mostly a lot of sugar, your palate is so different. Like, I crave fruit. I crave vegetables. And I'm craving broccoli right now. I'm going to have that for dinner. I'm going to have some broccoli. I think tonight I'm going to have broccoli, avocado, and a little bit of the gluten-free rice, because I can function off that. I'm craving my fruit salad I made out of white nectarines, cherries, oranges, and a banana. Oh, so good. And it's so sweet. It tastes just like candy. Like real food tastes like amazing without sauces and stuff on it. Every once in a while, it is nice to have a treat. Drink your water every day, all day.